Welcome back, guys. This week's top 10 is the top 10 boss battles.
Showtime, Batman!
Broadcasting into our 10th position, it's the Bob Barbas battle from the Devil May Cry reboot. After getting sucked into the news station, Dante must fight Bob in his own domain. Sections styled as news reports and Bob's malevolent presence make this fight a memorable one.
Truly shocking footage of the terrorist, known as Dante, at the Bellevue Pier recently.
Smashing its way into number 9, it's Master Hand from Super Smash Bros. Appearing in every Smash Bros. Game, the disembodied flying fist attempts to crush players using a variety of different moves in this unforgettable boss battle. Sinking into number 8, it's the Big Daddy from Bioshock. This iconic enemy is first seen by the player through a sheet of glass, building suspense for the first battle with the protective being. The lumbering suited splicers can move quicker than first expected, which makes the first encounter that much more frightening. Teaming up to get into 7th place, it's Ornstein and Smaug from Dark Souls. Considered by many to be one of the hardest and most iconic bosses of the series, this duo come at the player simultaneously, resulting in one of the most stressful and challenging fights of the franchise. Scaring his way into 6th place, it's the Scarecrow from Arkham Asylum. One of the more unique takes on boss battles, this one starts with what looks like the game crashing and restarting, only to have Batman die by the hand of the Joker, tricking both the player and Batman.
We're ready! I've waited a long time for this, Bats. Let's start the party!
Lumbering into number 5, it's the giant boss Kronos from God of War 3. What makes this boss battle stand out is the sheer scale of the battle. The fight even begins with Kronos trying to crush Kratos between his fingers. This is one battle that just screams epic. Tunneling into 4th place, it's the Riftworm from Gears of War 2. Similar to what made the last game on our list great, the Riftworm battle gives off a massive sense of scale after the player and their squad is swallowed by the worm, and have to destroy the 3 hearts before cutting their way out. The rivalry continues into 3rd place, with Bowser from the Mario franchise. Mario has faced off against King Koopa many times, but one of the most iconic would be the battle from Super Mario 64. The added dimension completely changed the tactics Mario needed to use to defeat him. Stomping its way into 2nd place is Valis, the first Colossi in Shadow of the Colossus. Really, any of the bosses from this game could have made it onto our list, but we feel as though Valis encompasses the ideas presented in Shadow of the Colossus, as it's the first taste the player gets of what these battles will be like. Ending our list at number 1 is Metal Gear Solid 3's The End. This battle from MGS3 can go 3 different ways. You can kill the End the normal way, or you can kill him earlier in the game, or more interestingly, you can let him die of old age by setting your internal clock forward a week.
Where does all this begin? The levels, I mean, the environments and areas you are thrown into, in games like Bioshock, Bioshock Infinite, and Chivalry Medieval Warfare. These are the places you go all in and fight within a team to complete an objective, or to show everyone that you are a boss in a free-for-all battle. But even if you are taking off people's heads left and right, you can't help but look at the environments and think to yourself, man, this is some pretty shit. Well, today is your lucky day. I mean, that's if you're one of those people who looked around in awe. If not, well, it's cool to continue with your bludgeoning, 360 no-scopes, and what have you. Today, I'm going to be showing you a little thing called UDK, a free development kit from the developer Epic Games. Within this demonstration, I'll be going over a few of the basics to get you guys and gals an understanding of what goes into making an environment and the processes involved. So, for the beginning of this little tutorial, let's create a small, simple landscape using the landscape editor up on the left here. This tool helps out greatly for, well, landscaping, as you'd probably have guessed. Once pressed, another tool pops up for the use of editing landscape. Now, we're going to input some data for how large we want our canvas to be. It's not the actual term for what we're creating, but it seems so fitting for it to be called a canvas. You've also probably noticed the big red line on the screen that shows the wireframe displays. We'll worry about that a bit later, but it is something to watch for, because if you were to build below it and the player goes downward and passes it, they will die. Now once that data has been into place, we can go ahead and start the fun stuff. Okay, once the flat terrain has been implemented, we're going to go ahead and use the first option given to us, which is a brush to help mold the terrain. For now, with the selected brush, we're going to raise the terrain to form a large bump in the canvas. Let's continue this process until we surround the center of the terrain with these lumps. In doing so, this allows for the edges to be hidden and players cannot reach the edge and fall off. For this demonstration, we'll leave one edge clear because this creation will be more of something to look at than a practical design for PvP matches of any sort. Okay, now that we have the raised bumps within our terrain, we're going to go ahead and use the other tools to provide detail to our canvas. For this demonstration, I'm going to use the erode brush and just add a few bits and pieces, as you'll see throughout the demonstration. Now that we've gotten the big part of the landscaping completed, we can get underway with using a different brush, one that isn't part of the landscaping and does not directly interact with the terrain. This brush that we're going to use is just a square, at least for now it is. This category of brush allows for the use of constructing structures. Specifically, for now, we'll create the base of our structure, like walls and etc. For now, that is. Also, one of the big basics is the axis. To move the brush, you control its placement via the axis. Keep note, blue is Z, red is X, and green is Y. If we click on an option called the geometry tool, we'll be able to adjust the size and shape of our cube. As you could probably assume, this is very helpful in the building process. Once the brush has been positioned, all one has to do is click on the Add tool, and it will create said object. There is other various options at our disposal that we could use to adjust and play around with, but for now, we're going to go ahead and just use the geometry tool for adjustments. Okay, now as you can see, we've got the base of our castle up, but there is no entrance. An obvious problem, but with an easy fix. All part of the creation process. Let's create with the brush tool a space large enough for an entrance to the courtyard of our castle. Once we've got that underway, we can go ahead and click an option similar to that of the Add button. It's called the Subtract button. Bet you would never have guessed that one. Seeing as we're building a basic castle, let's go into the content browser and find something similar to a castle to get a picture of the architecture involved. Now the content browser is a place where we can find the assets that we've added or the ones that are already part of the UDK package. Once we've found what we are searching for, we'll place it into the level. Okay, now seeing as we understand the square brush and its uses, let's go ahead and start adding more detail with it. As you can see, I've gone ahead and added another wall and such, and now beginning to implement some windows into the castle. Sweet, everything seems to be coming together, but we're still very early in the building process. Seeing as we've covered brushes, the content browser, and the landscape tool, it should be fitting to get some of this landscape colored in with natural looking textures. Now the process is very finicky, and due to that, I'm not going to be able to run through the whole process. But once I've got it set up, we'll be back underway. We're back, and with natural looking materials to paint our landscape with. As you can see, I've gone ahead and filled in a bit of the landscape, and I'm now going to go over the fine part with you. All we've got to do now is select one of these and mess with the sizing of the brush. And voila, we're underway. Now, as you can see, I'm going ahead and using this material that is similar to a rock face, so I'll be placing this on the mountains and hills to give it a more refined look. Alongside that, you'll have noticed that surrounding the rock is the sand material I put together. This I thought made the mountains and hills stand out more so than just to have a regular grass surrounding it. Last but not least, with the materials, I've gone and created a few paths with the sand. Alright, so now that the landscape is completed, I'm going to continue with the castle we constructed and add in a hallway and a couple rooms to give it a more lively feel. With the subtract brush I used earlier, I'll go ahead and copy the space it placed down and move it over along the hallway to add another entrance for the second room. Once complete, I feel as though the hallway has gotten rather dark, so it's about time to add in some interior lights and give it somewhat of a spooky atmosphere. To do so, I've gone ahead and selected a light fixture from the content manager and placed it where it fit, and then multiplied it many times over until it reached the end of the hallway. Afterwards, it's necessary to go back into the content manager and get an actual light node, because the lights we selected were only a mesh and therefore don't produce light themselves. Once the light node is in place, just copy it over each of the light meshes placed beforehand, and voila, our hallway is lit up rather well. You've probably noticed that everything around the castle is textured except for the castle itself. So let's go ahead and quickly choose textures that best fit it from the content manager and drag and drop it straight onto the walls needed. Each wall face is going to need it selected, which includes ceilings and floors. Then finally, next to my tree I have placed in the courtyard of our small castle, we'll go and throw a pond in just for looks. Once complete, fiddle around more with what the content manager has and place it wherever. As you can see, I've gone ahead and completed the castle, its textures, and even added a few bits and pieces to give it more of a lively look. Now that you've grasped a few of the basics, why not go ahead and learn more and make more? Every game begins with an idea. Feel free to make yours. Thanks for watching.